On a clear night this November, if you look up at the moon, you'll see something very special. For a few hours, it'll be glowing an eerie red color. That's because the Earth will cast its shadow on the moon. It's called a total lunar eclipse, or in more dramatic terms, a blood moon, and it's one of nature's most incredible spectacles. I'm here with Minutirth, and to understand why the moon turns red during a blood moon, let's first figure out how we got here. Right now, the Earth is flying around the Sun at about 30 kilometers per second. Meanwhile, the Moon is orbiting the Earth at almost 1.3 kilometers per second. Because the Moon is slightly closer to the Earth than the Sun, sometimes the Moon lines up perfectly between the two, and when that happens, the Earth casts its shadow. On the Moon, that's a lunar eclipse. Now, you might think that if the Moon is blocking the face of the Sun, that would leave us in darkness, but the Moon doesn't cover the entire face of the Sun. If it did, we'd have a total solar eclipse, and those are different from lunar eclipses. Solar eclipses can only last for a few minutes, and you have to wear special glasses to watch them safely. They can also be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but lunar eclipses can last for hours and are completely safe to watch. As a lunar eclipse begins, a small part of the moon enters the Earth's shadow. At first, the shadow looks like a small dark spot on the moon's bright surface. But as time goes on, the moon moves through the rest of the shadow and becomes completely dark. Then it starts to glow eerily red. So why is the moon red? As we mentioned earlier, the moon isn't blocking the face of the sun completely. There's still a sliver of the sun shining through some parts of the moon. That light passes through our atmosphere before hitting our eyes. And along the way, it bounces off tiny molecules and particles. Those interactions cause the light to scatter. Blue light gets scattered more than red light does. So when the sun shines through our atmosphere, we see a reddish glow in the sky. And when the moon passes through that light, it takes on that same reddish hue. If the moon were closer to the Earth, its surface would actually be in Earth's umbral shadow and would appear darker. But the moon is far enough away that most of the light from the sun passes through the less dense part of the atmosphere, called the lower stratosphere. There, air molecules bounce the light around so much that it loses most of its blue color. Instead, the light that reaches our eyes has been filtered through a reddish band of colors produced by oxygen and water vapor in the upper atmosphere. The full moon phase usually occurs twice per year, but not all full moons are eclipsed by the Earth's shadow. Sometimes the moon and the sun line up perfectly so that the shadow lands entirely on the sun. We call that a solar eclipse. Those happen about twice a year, but they are hard to notice because they usually occur over oceans where most of humanity doesn't live. Only about 17% of people on Earth experience a solar eclipse each year, and while lunar eclipses happen every 2 years or so, there's a special name for the ones that turn the moon red. The term total lunar eclipse dates back to the 1840s. The word total means complete, and lunar refers to the moon, so a total lunar eclipse literally means a complete darkening of the moon. But astronomers don't love this definition because technically, the moon never completely darkens during an eclipse. Some light always makes it through the Earth's atmosphere and onto the moon, so instead, astronomers refer to this phenomenon as a total eclipse of the moon. But the name stuck with the public, probably because the phrase total lunar eclipse sounds more ominous than total eclipse of the moon. And indeed, the blood moon has inspired many legends and superstitions. In ancient Greece, people believed the blood moon was an ill omen, a sign that the gods were angry or that something terrible had happened somewhere in the world. In Christian tradition, the blood moon was said to signal Christ's imminent return to Earth, and some Native American tribes believed the blood moon was a warning that dangerous animals would come out of their hiding places at night. But these days, the blood moon is mainly associated with folklore and superstition. To scientists, it's just another opportunity to learn more about our planet. During an eclipse, the color of the moon can tell us things about the quality of the atmosphere on Earth. You see, when light passes through our atmosphere, it interacts with gases and particles floating around up there. Usually that interaction causes the light to scatter and it looks blue. But when the moon passes into the shadow of the Earth, we only see the light that hasn't been bounced away, and that light gives us a window into the stratosphere. By measuring how red the moon looks during a blood moon, scientists can estimate how far down the light traveled in the atmosphere, and that tells us how thick the atmosphere is at that time. Scientists also use blood moons to measure aerosols in the atmosphere, which are tiny solid particles suspended in the air. Aerosols can be made of a variety of stuff, including smoke, dust, salt, water, and even living things like bacteria. They can affect the amount of heat the Earth absorbs and reflect back into space, and they play a role in global warming. So understanding how they interact with light can help scientists keep tabs on climate change. During a blood moon, the red light filtering through the atmosphere is especially useful for finding aerosols because it is not affected by clouds. And since the moon is visible all over the world during a blood moon, scientists can measure aerosols from lots of locations at once. In fact, scientists have been using blood moons to track the effects of volcanic eruptions. After Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines in 1991, scientists noticed that blood moons failed to turn red for years afterwards. That is because aerosols from the volcano absorbed and scattered light in a way that blocked the reddish wavelengths. Blood moons became bluer than usual, and that told scientists that the eruption had put a lot of material in the atmosphere. Eclipses of any kind are pretty rare. The moon and the Earth's orbit are misaligned by about 5 degrees, so the moon lines up perfectly in front of the sun only twice a year, and the moon and Earth's orbits are misaligned by about 5 degrees. So the moon lines up perfectly in front of the sun only twice a year, and the moon only appears red during the last half of the eclipse when the sun is low on the horizon. So a total lunar eclipse turns the moon red only about twice a year, and it's extra special when that blood moon occurs during a supermoon. A supermoon happens when the moon is at its closest point to the Earth in its orbit. That makes the moon look bigger and brighter than normal. The next super blood moon will occur in January of 2025, so set your calendar. And if you want to learn more about upcoming eclipses, you can check out NASA's website. They provide regular updates on all kinds of eclipses, as well as links to resources for educators and more, so make sure to look up at the night sky later. This year, when the moon turns a deep red, you'll be witnessing a rare event, one that has captured humanity's attention for thousands of years. It is a spectacle that reminds us of the wonders of the natural world and our place within it. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, there is always beauty to be found. Thanks for watching this episode of Minute. Our team is grateful to our supporters for helping us explain even more of the weird ways the universe works, and you can help us keep making these videos. Head over to our support page to get started.